You want to say hi? I'm making a video.
David, Hans, welcome to the Turning Point in Me. Thanks for taking the time, my brew.
Not a problem, Jacob, my brewski.
And you're father of two boys
Father of two boys, yeah.
under the age of...
I got one that's about to be 10 in like the next 2 weeks or so, and then I have one that's turning 2 a month after that.
Okay, big gap. Nice. And you're a single dad?
Yeah.
Gotcha. My brewskis. We're going to start with faith, right? Am I doing this the right way? Faith, family, being an American. So when we line them up that way, by the time we talk about being an American, basically kind of have a good understanding of where your values live, right? Question number one, the daily impact. How do your personal beliefs to your moral compass help you stay grounded when things get stressful or hectic? So faith questions.
I mean, that's a very loaded question. How does my faith and my belief affect my daily? I mean, it's really just a reminder, constant reminding of myself that we need to walk in faith and be on that narrow path, and that anger and those things are easy to come to, especially when the situation is frustrating or overwhelming. But if we remember that ultimately God is in control, and just to place whatever the situation is back in his hands, as soon as we possibly can, the easier it is to just remain calm and steady and level-headed, and then hopefully make the best decision.
Do you have an example of like a time when you were like really hectic? Do you just like a small example of, say, like I put a bunch of shit on your plate right now and you're just like, I need to relax. How does faith do that for you?
Here's a perfect one I have daily, because I feel like a lot of people on the road become very entitled, and they forget to pay attention to their surroundings, and especially in this age of technology where cars will self-drive and all the smartphones. I see a lot of people, instead of being just in the road, they are down here and oblivious, and it frustrates me beyond belief. So
Yeah.
I get very, very, I just want to be not around other people when I drive. I can't handle it. But in moments when I start to want to rage, one of the things I have started to do, instead of acting like, the rages you see on videos, is just to call out to the Lord. Just Lord, and just in that moment with the breath of saying his name, I can instantly feel more, and just calm down, just let it go. These people are people in the world, and we are aware of that because we've read our Bible. So we're just going to let it be, and we're just going to find peace in the Lord and just let it go, because it's not worth it.
Yep. Okay.
Most of life is like spilt milk. Okay. The milk is spilt. It's on the floor. You got to clean it up, and you got to deal with it. Just get over it, because if you sit there and cry about the milk ain't going back in the jug. The mess ain't cleaning itself up. You're just going to be worked up and have sore eyes from crying over milk. I mean, so sometimes you just have to remember, just clean it up and move on.
Don't dwell over it. And you let you have a faith aura when I met you. Like as soon as I met you, I'm like, this is a Christian. And not just due to the cross around your neck, but the way you carried yourself and talked to the people around you. And yep, very similar. But yeah, we noticed that.
Yeah,
They
yes.
do look alike. But when things when you in that moment with other people, do you feel the same power to do that? Reach out to Christ. If you're in that with other people, do you still feel empowered to be like, Lord?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily say it out loud, because they might not understand that I'm not going like, oh, Lord, like you're stupid. It was more of a, oh Lord, give me some patience here. Give me some understanding, give me some better wording to, help them understand, whatever it is I'm trying to get across to them. Sometimes it's the understanding that you don't have to always be right, and people are going to have their opinions, and, it's one of those, you're going to have to agree to disagree without getting to that point and just going, okay, just, it's fine. You're stuck where you are. And I'm not going to, waste my time and energy.
No, and it would be, right?
Because when you feel yourself constantly pouring this time and energy into what is eventually nothing, that's when you yourself can be, you get drained and tired, and the anger and the frustration, and it boils up, and then it boils over, and then you're exploding on people who might have just not, been fully aware of their own self in the moment. And,
We start all projecting on each other. Then our innards come out, and you're like, well, okay, yeah, I see how you really feel now. Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah,
It's been a hard challenge personally for me just to keep my faith outward, but it's a easier daily kind of thing to talk about faith, even with strangers, you know? Before it started with like the emails, God bless, small ending conversations here, God bless. Started to be a little easier to talk about faith, talk about God, and then now I'm just leaving it out there, right? Like, oh wow, God is moving on the earth, or wow, you were really blessed with that. That's fantastic. Things like that. But
I myself have never been, I guess, the type to openly go out and preach, but I have never shied away. I've never, if somebody asks me, I don't ever hesitate. I have argued the existence of Jesus with atheists and even Muslims, but yeah, it's just one of those things where it's a constant daily thing. You got to remind yourself that you are not of or supposed to be of this world anymore. So it's just, and for
yeah,
me, so I've seen some of your earlier podcasts, and you've asked some of them about what their turning point was. Well, I've I've given my life to Christ at a very early age, but I let the world do what the world does, and I ended up on the wide and narrow path. And I never lost my faith. I just wasn't walking in it. So now throughout that time, again, I never denied it, but I'm a lot different now as I've grown into this 40-year-old man that I am now. And I've experienced the things I did because I was not on the right path. So some of those things, then just reminding myself the person I was when I was on that wide path. And now that I spend my focus trying to walk that straight and narrow, it is a lot easier for me not to take other people's wrong side of the bed wake up as an attack on me when they just have a snotty attitude. It's just, okay, we're not going to explode. We're not going to project. We're not going to take it personal, because just like Jesus loves me when I have a bad day, I'm going to love you when you have a bad day.
yeah.
And because I
Every
have because I have a basic human love for you, that means I am not going to go out of my way to make you feel any less than you are.
or problem to feel already. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
my
because my job is, if anything, to do the opposite. If my job is, if as a Christian, as a man, if you see somebody that's down, to try to bring some positivity.
yeah,
You know, be the change you want to see in the world. If you're sick and tired of seeing all this negative, all these angry, self-centered people,
yeah,
start being the opposite,
yeah.
because it is contagious. It's proven in the whole pay it forward thing. One person pays for the next person, and it just spirals until either it hits somebody who just isn't in financial position to, pay that next forward, especially if it's a family of 8 behind them and they're one guy on a small, you know what I mean? A single mom on a budget. But she can accept the blessing from everybody in front of her. And now that person is back, they don't need to be angry because somebody else received the blessing they needed. That's just the way we need to be. They should be happy and say, you know what, I'm glad somebody who needed it got it. And
Yes.
that's very hard for people in general to not go, I want, I deserve, I need, I have to have.
Me. I can't help it, right? Because everybody, it's what everybody's asking
Mhm.
from. So I feel like, okay, all I have to do is take. No, I was just gonna say like disciple. That word has been hitting hard recently for me as a follower of Christ. Is that it's not just to be in love with Jesus and to follow in His name, but to be a disciple. That is like lighting a fire in your heart and your mind, and like actively trying to not convince, but highlight. Right? You know what Jesus has done for me? You know what Jesus stories I can share with you? My job as a disciple isn't to change your heart and mind. Only Jesus can do that. Only God can soften a heart and change a mind. But if they don't know, then that's where a disciple comes in. Let me at least tell you what's going on and why we feel the way we do.
In that point of what Jesus has done for me, because I can definitely say there's a very solid chance, I believe, that I wouldn't still be here if I hadn't given my life to Christ early on in my life like I did. Now, with that being said, a lot of people think like, oh, well, Jesus loves me and all of this. I shouldn't I shouldn't struggle in all of these things. But to be honest, we forget that what he did on that cross was more than we ever deserved and more than enough. And that alone right there is the blessing that we should just be thankful for every day, that I know that I am not in control. And if I do my best to follow and live this way and I've given my life to Christ, I don't have to worry. I don't have to suffer because in the end, I know where I'm going. I know what's going to happen and I'll be okay. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So, but
it's not that the ship doesn't day.
those are very hard things to live, that live by faith, and not be afraid and worried of what is going on in the world. I know a lot, especially with, Iran right now, there's a lot of World War III and this and that, and just all of the things that are going on in this world. It can all be very scary, but if you know who you belong to and you've given your life to him and you put your trust and faith in him, it's easy to just walk through life like it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it doesn't. Because what is going to happen is going to happen.
That's not the right word.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's all been written out, okay? So it's going to come to fruition regardless. So if you worry and panic and are afraid that what is written in Revelation is going to happen,
Yeah.
you're not living in faith, because you know
Yeah.
that when that happens, all of those who believe and we've given our life, we don't have to go through that.
Right.
So that's why I have the faith that it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Because
by having the faith, but it matters to follow the faith in order for it not to matter, right?
yes. If
So
you're not a believer, if you haven't given your life, then yes, what is going on in the world matters a lot, and it probably is telling you to go look
yeah,
in your Bible and give your life to Christ.
and all you got to do is knock and he'll answer. That's it.
Open the door. Really, the man's already knocking. You just got to open and listen.
That's true. You don't even have to knock. What's that image of him knocking on your door, but there's no door handle? So all you have to do is open and he's already
Yeah,
there.
you just got to open the door.
The journey. So you said that your faith started when you were younger. This question is asking, is your faith something that has stayed constant in your whole life, which it has, and has it evolved as you've gotten older? So it sounds like it has, and it's evolved away, and now it's diverging, evolving back.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't say that it's evolved, or devolved, whatever. It's always been there. It's been a constant. I've never doubted. I guess I wasn't fully taught how the world is going to look, what that wide and narrow path will, what the wide path looks like, the easy path. And so then it was easy to just fall in line and listen to, what everybody would tell you about, oh, people are people and mean, especially as kids, like, you're ugly and I'm a ginger. So, there's all of those things. And eventually that leads to, you tend to believe those kind of things. After a while, yeah, you just can easily fall into the ways of the world. But once I had gone through enough, I
Life
came
experience.
out and, I've climbed myself back onto the straight and narrow. My faith, the maintaining of it has always been there, is probably the biggest driving factor of what brought me back to the straight and narrow. Because all throughout life, when I was on the easy path and I felt like struggling, I would cry out to the Lord in my sleep. And eventually, I just knew I had to walk away and come back, walk away from the world and get back to the Lord. Um, and it's not easy, but things are always looking up. Everything is going to be okay. Again, it's that faith over fear, that I know that every day that I wake up, the good Lord will get me through today and the next day and the next day until my purpose for him through him is fulfilled, whatever that may be. I just hope that that is, that purpose gets fulfilled. So, and it will. So I just maintain that faith that every day I wake up, know the Lord is going to guide me and lead me wherever he needs me to be. And I will make it through the day until he says it's time to come home. So
That's amazing. Yeah, it's a hard one to. Sorry, I fell away for a minute. I had
no,
to
that's okay. Yeah, I kept going because I hoped that it was still up, recording and uploading. So I
Thank you
didn't want to lose anything.
Good job. You did the right thing. Thank you for doing that.
I will be honest though, one of the things I have wanted for myself lately is for people not to see me, for people to see Jesus. So when you said like the first time you met me and I walked up, you could just tell by the way I carried myself and I treated the people around me
Yeah.
that was a Christian, and that was a huge compliment for me because that's all I want because that's what it should be.
Yep.
Are we on to being an American,
One
or
more
are we
faith question. One more
we're on
faith question.
family? Oh, faith. I was still on faith.
One more faith question, and then we'll move on to family. And this one is, how do you lean on your personal values? No. Do you think having a strong moral? Yes. What's one way you try to bring a sense of servant leadership or selflessness to your team every day?
Servant leadership is something I learned a long time ago in my years in manufacturing, and it's really a very selfless but unselfless act all in the same. Because if you know that as the leader, you are only as successful as the like a chain. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So you need to serve your team and the members of your team in ways that help them grow and build in every aspect that keeps them happy and productive or whatever it may be, to keep them at the level you need them performing at to accomplish whatever goals your team has, whatever that team may be, whether that team is your family or your team is a team at work, or just your team of guys, your friends,
Mm-hmm.
whatever your goal is as a whole.
Yeah.
So when someone says, "Hey, can you help me?" And even if it's something that you feel they should know and is like, you should like, don't ever feel like it's beneath you. That's the one thing. Like, don't ever
Yeah.
go over there with a smile and walk them through it. And if they don't understand, work with them to figure out how, to communicate with them in ways they can understand. Okay, so you can do that, and then you can bring that to every aspect of your life and knowing that as crazy as this is, if you and now it doesn't help because the world is broken, but in the perfect society, you don't ever have to worry about your needs if you are meeting everybody else's needs because once everybody it's the same sense because if all of your needs are met, Jacob, you can go meet the needs of others. And then when their needs are met, they meet the needs of others and so forth and so on and so on. And then all of these people who have their needs met are now meeting your needs. So
Yeah.
your needs are met.
Right.
Okay. And it's just
If we
there
all
was
thought of each other, then everyone would be taken care of.
Right. So there was this kind of experiment thing done, and they took elementary kids and they put every child's name on a balloon and they filled the hallway with it. And they told the kids, find your balloon. It was chaos. Most of the kids couldn't find their balloon. Now they changed it and they said, help each other. Okay. And what would happen is when a kid would go in, they would find a balloon with someone's name, they would find that person. Okay. And eventually, very quickly, every child had the balloon with their name on it because
Wow.
David found John's balloon. And instead of tossing it and keep looking, David went, hey, John, here's your balloon. Now, John
Yep.
has his balloon. Now, John can go pick up any balloon and go, Mike, Billy, Janie, Jill, whatever, Jilly,
And start crushing it.
Jill, Sally. Yeah, whatever. And then everybody eventually has their balloon very quickly. So yes, when you are a servant, just like Jesus, and you serve the needs of others, okay? Because if we look at it from that perspective too, in all reality, God didn't have to save us. He didn't have to send Jesus. He didn't have to come and give us the thing that he knew we needed. Because
Yeah.
when he wrote the law and he watched Israelites and all the rest of humanity fail to follow those laws and live that perfect life and even
Bold.
follow the rules to atone for their failures, he knew we needed something. And he could have just wiped us out like he did the flood without the ark this time. He could have just and been done with it. But instead, he said, what do they need? They
Yep.
need a path. They need a door. They
Yep.
need salvation.
There it is.
And he didn't, and the best thing about it is he didn't delegate it. He didn't send Michael. He didn't send Gabriel. He sent himself.
Yep.
That right there, I think, is the definition of servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
To humble yourself, as he says, and bring yourself down. Because he also didn't come in as a king with authority. No, he came in a poor carpenter's son in a manger, like
Yep.
the very bottom, accessible to everybody. And he served and helped anybody and everybody that would come to him, openly accepting that.
Right. Yeah. Good answer. I like that. Managers could do better than that. I think most leadership positions, I think terminology could be more helpful for them by calling them leadership positions, like a team lead, a supervisor. When it starts getting to management, executive, director, managers have a feel of I'm untouchable and you're below me. And all I have to do is tell you, and I'll show you once, and then I can tell you. But to live with you and be the team and to, like that sport. You can't be the quarterback and not be like, team player. You can't just go around being a not cool, not nice guy to your team and expect you guys to be excited.
In that same sense, if you're the quarterback and you are constantly missing with your number one wideout, instead of jamming the wideout, if you go to him and say, hey, what do you need? And he says, actually, I need you to lead me about a half a step more than you currently are.
Yeah.
And then you just start leading him that half a step with your ball and you start connecting. It's that simple. So yeah,
instead of the opposite.
Exactly. Instead of going, well, I'm the quarterback, so you just need to figure it out. You got to slow your route down or time your route better.
Then now you're doing like I know your route better than you do. Wait a minute.
How can I help you help me?
Yeah, exactly. And it's all in the Bible. We could all do better. Absolute. That was faith. I learned a lot about you. That was awesome. To the family. Does work-life balance matter to you?
I mean, very much so. I think it should matter to everybody, but I have a very weird outlook on like work itself. So my family is priority. Taking care of my children is priority. But I know that if I don't have a job, because the world we live in, I have to have a job to make money to pay the bills and buy the food and try to survive this economy that we have. So unfortunately, sometimes my work takes a slightly higher priority over my kids. That may look messed up. It may look terrible. But it's because I know that certain things have to be there. They have to be done. They have to be taken care of. Yeah. So as many times as I would have loved to be able to just stay home when my kid said, Dad, can we just stay home? Or Dad, I just don't want to. Instead, I have to push him that sometimes we just have to do the things we don't want to do. Because I then myself have to go and do the thing I don't want to do. But I know if I don't do that thing I want to do, we won't get to do things we want to do at all, ever. Like when he wants to get McDonald's, he wants to go to the park, he wants to go to the beach, wants a new toy. We can't do those if I don't go to work. So if every time you say, Dad, I don't want to, and I just say, okay, so like the inner me says, I don't want to, and then I don't, so I don't ever get out of bed. You know what I mean? So yeah, sometimes you have to put work over family for your family.
For your family.
But
well, and that's being
that balance
right?
is huge
because you're the only person in that role to make that happen.
Right. But in that same sense, if you are always here with it and you're never taking the time to enjoy the spoils of it and all, you know what I mean?
The reasons why of it.
All of this means nothing.
Nothing.
Because you can't take any of it with you. You know what I mean? That's why, like, I don't have a problem with, like, being successful and wealthy and those things. But when you have Elon Musk money, Bill Gates money that your children's will never be able to spend, as wasteful as they could be, why do you still need more? What are you doing with all of that? Letting it accrue? That's wasteful. That's garbage. That's sad. Okay. And I'm not talking about we need to be communist or socialist, but there should be lines drawn. And now, if every person had faith and followed the Lord and put things in the Bible into our daily life practices like we are supposed to, the world would be obviously a much better place and we wouldn't have such disparities.
I agree with you in a lot of ways about the $1 billion thing. AOC just said this the other day about how no one person can earn $1 billion by themselves, right? The idea is that no one person should be worth $1 billion. And you're not wrong. In their lifetime, 12 down, crazy, frivolous, like nonsensical spending still won't go through it ever. And if you tithed, right? If you cared, if you did that, it's kind of disgusting. Yeah. When you think about the amount of it.
Now, on that sense, though, with the tithing, I do have one small issue because I know it's like a commandment of God, but I think
10%.
This day and age, it needs to be done differently because I used to go to a lot of different churches and I can't anymore because there is such a disconnect between the church itself and the communities. And once I learned how churches work, you have to get a license. You have to be a part of a group. You have to like pay dues. You have to get a license to be a preacher. All of these things that are not of God being put in his house. And when I watched what I thought was a great non-denominational church put on a month-long telethon. I swear it was a telethon because all I ever heard, and this is how I still remembered, just a simple one-time donation of $59.99 from every congregation in the church. We're going to send this other church's kids to church camp. No. There are homeless, poor people in my community. So I took my $59.99 and I put it into the community and I
There you
helped
go.
people around me.
The
That's what
tithing
it's
doesn't
about.
have to go to the church. Tithing can be your time.
Right. But I'm saying a lot of people, they think that the tithe is still just that money into the collection plate at church. And where does that money go? It doesn't, not
Yeah.
most of the time, sadly, it doesn't
No.
go to do God's work. So
No. There's too many bad actors, right? Pharisees. There's too many bad
false prophets and
Pharisees.
preachers are everywhere.
And they're in sheep's clothing, and they've all got their own opinions. And it's good that you notice when that sin is showing up.
Well, one of the greatest things I've taken out of the Bible and I put into everything, and it's almost kind of disheartening, I guess, to humanity and society in itself. But God flat out says, He says, "Do not lean onto your own understanding, and for all things you do, I'm gonna butcher it. I'm bad at remembering verses. I don't have them memorized at all, but you know what I'm saying." He says, and I even put that on myself. I don't trust myself and my own thoughts. Like, is that real? Like, let's not. And so when you hear and you see all these things that are like, and people put so much faith into the nonsense they hear when their faith belongs in the word, and it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it's such a hard thing because then everybody wants to reinterpret and that's the other issue I have, is that everybody wants to pick and choose, and then they'll take one thing out of context, and when in reality it's a whole giant picture, and it's very black and white. Honestly, we all suck, we all sin, we all fall short.
Yeah. But we all feel like we're the exception.
A lot of people like to feel like they're the exception. And
Yeah,
if you
they're the
can
exception, right?
remove that and just go, I am not better than you ever. I will never be, no matter how much money I have, no matter clout, nothing. Nothing puts me above you. I am just as terrible as you are. But because of God's grace and glory and mercy and his sacrifice, we can have salvation. And then me and you can still be the same. We'll still be just as terrible, but we can be washed clean.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
can have salvation.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
even though if I've given my life to Christ and I've been washed clean, and let's say you haven't, that does not make me better than you, and that gives me no right to put you down or condemn you.
And that's where
Because
we need to live, because of like these pastors, these preachers, these decade-old, some generation before us feel that way. They feel this, well, I put in the time, or I've done good. Doing good isn't going to get you to heaven. It's the profession. It's like, yeah, you have to profess. You have to what's the
proclaim,
word?
yeah,
Repent.
yeah, repent, yes. And a lot of people think repent is just saying I'm sorry, but we all know a sorry without changed behavior is
Yeah.
manipulation. That's all it is. When you apologize for something, you're supposed to, it's, I'm sorry, I will never do that again. That's the thing. You're not supposed to. And no, as people, we're not perfect. So some things, it's like, I can't say, I promise I'll never get angry again. I know I have a short temper and not a lot of patience some days, and I can get very angry. But if I remember
Mm-hmm.
who I belong to,
Mm-hmm.
who I am following, it's very easy to step back out of that anger
Yeah.
and
And
just
just say,
take a
okay,
breath.
yep. And tomorrow's a new day.
But for some people, they let that anger spiral and fuel and burn and build and then we have those people that feel so righteous in their salvation and their walk with Christ that they unintentionally push people away because they just tell people you're a terrible person and you're going to burn in hell. That's true, yes, but
That's
that's
not going to bring people closer.
exactly. That's not how you preach the gospel. That's not the good news.
That's not
If
what Jesus
you
did.
turn around
He
and
didn't go
say,
around just condemning everybody.
but now if you can step off your high horse and be humble as God calls us to be, humble yourself, and you say, look, I am just like you. I don't look the same. I don't do the same things, but I am a sinner just like you. And because of God's grace and glory and his mercy, I have found salvation. I have been washed clean, and you can too.
Yep.
God has a purpose for you and your life, and he loves you and he wants to get to know you, but you have to take an effort to step out of the world and what you think you hear and know and what you think you believe, throw it all away and start over and actually do the work for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Second question for family, when things get busy at the office, what's your non-negotiable for making sure you're still showing up for the people at home?
It's just that comes to my kids and my family are priorities. So
Yeah. So I mean, right.
if I'm
Make it
at the
hurt,
office and
I'm
I'm
out.
having a busy day, but I've got a family emergency, I gotta go. And
I gotta go.
it's not hard for me to just explain to people. And I think that they should understand, especially if they have kids or a family of themselves for themselves. If you get a call that your kid got hurt at school, you're not gonna go, let me finish this meeting unless you're just not a family orientated. I don't know. But for the most part, people are gonna be like, I am very sorry, but I have an emergency and I have to go. And then
Yeah.
later you can come back and be like, my child broke his arm on the monkey bar, falling off the monkey bars at school, and they're gonna be like, oh, that's crazy. I'm so sorry. And chances are they're gonna be like, you know what, my kid did something crazy, or when I was younger, I did. And then next thing you know, because you were real and you were a human being, you have other people responding in the same, and now you have a connection
Yeah.
before just your business. You know what I mean? You have,
Yeah.
and it can build, it can build. So yeah, it's very easy to be one side or the other, but I think it's easy to just maintain what is most important when you know that work is only important because it provides for your family.
Yes, and I think especially in the West, we figure that work is our identity, and so we take work to that nth degree of if I don't work harder, right? Sleep is going to be there after I'm dead. I can put this in. I could do this, right? And you keep challenging yourself, and then your managers, and then your environment, your industry, your goals, right? Like the ones you artificially put on, and the ones that are external put on. But when was there in your life a moment when have you always felt like that about work? Obviously, when you had your boys, that natural
No,
change
so
clicks
yeah,
over.
it did because I have an insane work ethic. So my parents had been split before this, and my dad could see the delinquency in me because he was a delinquent child himself as a teenager. All other stories. No, anyways, to keep me out of trouble and driving my older sister, nuts all summer as she tried to keep track and control of me while my dad was in the cities framing houses, I got 2 weeks summer vacation. He woke me up 4 a.m. in the morning and said, get up, get dressed. Now, I did not know this was coming the night before, so I, being a 16-year-old on summer vacation, was up all night with my friends. I had zero sleep, really. And he said, get up, get dressed. Car's leaving in 20 minutes and you have to be in there. I said, what are we doing? I didn't even understand. He said, I'm going to work and you're coming with me. And I said, okay. And I just went to work and I learned how to make money. Fortunately, I wasn't taught what to do with it afterwards. Also other stories. But so I always had this insane work ethic that you have to get up and you have to go to work no matter what. And part of that was instilled in me when I was still in high school and I wanted to just, be more adult things. And my dad said, look, regardless, you go to school, okay? So like if you want to go out and party with your friends, that's fine, but you're going to go to school. I don't care. You go to school. So I just knew like work and school were one and the same. After
Yeah.
school, it was work and you just went to work and you did the thing. And until I had a family, I had no problem working 16-hour days, weeks straight, stacking money to spend like an idiot, which I did. Now, once I had my son, I was still doing some of that in part to provide, but as I realized how much time I missed him growing up in very important moments because I was working,
Yeah.
it took a big stop and I went no more
Right.
because as long as my bills are paid, I would rather some days have to look at my son and go, I'm sorry, I don't have the money for that, but then be able to take him out into the park and do something free where we'll still have fun and build memories and stuff like that. And I'll get to watch him grow and I'll have opportunities to teach him life lessons and things that he might not get anywhere else because you're supposed to get them from your father, but your father was an absent father. That wasn't going to be me. So yeah, I just made a choice where I'm just not. And I just started saying no to work. And there were times when I had to find other jobs and I started taking into consideration like what time do I have to wake up to drive how far and how much, how is that going to affect my time with my child, especially when he's in school for 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day. And then I have to come home and we only have so much time before he has to go to sleep because he has to be on a schedule because kids aren't morning people.
Yeah.
So there was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And I used to work a lot of second shift, which definitely took away from my time with my child, because I'm sleeping or trying to sleep and he's being a child. And then he's sleeping and I'm working. So then we had this whole opposite thing, and I had to stop. And honestly, there's a lot of decent money in this area we live in second shift manufacturing jobs. And so I had to step away from that just so that I can be present father, because
Yeah.
that was more important.
Right. Gotcha. That's huge. Not many people would do that. And do you feel because of your faith that it brought you to make that decision more? Maybe part of your upbringing too, like your own.
I think so, but if you had asked me this a couple of years ago when I was starting this, and I was just starting my journey back to the straight and narrow, had started over, I probably wouldn't have said this. I wouldn't have looked at it the same way, but definitely because all my little ones up until then, I forgot that I don't have to do everything. I don't have to be the sole provider. I'm in control. And then I remembered I'm not. I'm not in control. I'm not the provider. I don't have to worry. I don't have to struggle. I don't have to be stressed because I have a creator that I belong to who is greater than anything and everything. And he provides for me anything and everything I need. I always knew that everything in this world cannot be brought with you, that we were not of this world. Because yes, I was given faith and gave my life to Christ at like 6 or 7 years old. So I had this very crazy understanding of things, and I just didn't think that success meant having money or a big house or anything like that. I always felt like success was being a good person, following the Lord and providing for your family and those kind of things. And so, yeah, I mean, it's always just being successful to me is the ability to help those around me when they come to me, when they need the help, when I see it, whether they ask for it or not. If I can see it and if I can help them, and I'm raising children, to be good human beings and follow the Lord and all those things, that's success to me. That's what success looks like. Uh,
All righty. Topic 3, being an American. As someone in the trenches of our industry, what do you think is the most underrated part of the American work ethic today? Hey, wow, how's that? Just flow right into it.
That's what I was saying. I know it's crazy. God, it's good.
God is good.
Honestly, I don't even have to say it's logistics in my actual career field anymore either, or sales in general, like we both are in. I think work ethic is something that is very important, but it is probably something that lacks a lot in this world. There are people that just sometimes, things get hard or it's a little bit of a struggle and they don't want to do it. Some of it I find very evident in my almost 10-year-old now. He's very much like water. He's very smart. He's very capable, but at the slightest point of resistance, that's it. He's out. He is going the other way. He will go around it. He will not. Where I think a lot of life's growth and all of those things come from, yeah, daddy's on the phone, seeing that rock, that resistance, and going, you're not going to stop me, instead of going and running away or trying to find a way around it, looking at it and going, no. I guess really honestly looking at it and just going, I follow a God who is bigger and badder than you are, and you mean nothing, so you can move out of my way, and then you can just go right through it.
And God says, whatever we do, put 100% into it, do it for God. So we're always going to do our best. And if we follow that work ethic, right? We should, yeah.
Don't preach to the mountain about your. Don't tell God about the mountain. Tell the mountain about your God. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. If you could change one thing about how our field operates, I don't like this. If you could change one main thing about our country to support American families, what would it be?
Well, this might anger a lot of people, but honestly, I would put God back in everything. And the Democratic Liberal Party, y'all got to go because y'all want to remove him. And honestly, as soon as America, for one, could start off by putting God back at the center of everything we do, starting with our own personal lives,
Yeah.
the moment everything will change. Unfortunately, I've read the book of Revelations, and that's not going to happen.
You don't get a miracle until you absolutely need one.
Right. But honestly, if I could change one thing about anything at all, that would be it. Because honestly, if you want to solve hunger, you want world peace, you want to solve hunger, homeless, all of the things, the answer is Jesus.
Mhm.
Point blank, period. Because again, if you put him first at the center and you follow him and you do the things, like I said, all of those people, the Bezos, the Musks, all of that, the Rothschilds, all of that evil will be gone, and people will easily say, okay, look, I've got 40 homeless people and I have a mansion that I never go to. We've got mansions that are falling apart because they're just not lived in. They're overgrown.
Because
And what's happening? It's all rotting while people die of starvation and hunger on the streets. That makes no sense to me. And you can't let the homeless people live there because that's my property. No.
well,
What
some of these homeless people, they're homeless because of addiction.
Again, I agree. And now, so part of that isn't just giving them somewhere to go or giving them money. You have to help them. And now, the sad thing is with addiction, I know because I battled it myself, you won't get out unless you want to get out. It's not until you can look at yourself and say, you have a problem. Yes, Daddy has his hat on. You have a problem and you need to change because it's not just affecting you, it's affecting people around you. I like to drink, okay? I did. And it was 6 to 7 days every week until I was drunk. Okay. It very rarely was just a beer or two. It was beers and shots and beers and shots. I had a bar that I would go to. I would walk in and I'd just sit down and 2 beers and a shot would show up at my table. I wouldn't have to say anything. That's how bad it was. Okay. So I had to go to treatment. And in that, I decided that this was going to be for my son because I could easily not chosen that and gone to prison and gone to jail and missed out on my son's life and not been the father that at that point I didn't want to be, but I knew I had to be because
Yeah.
I made the choice to put my thing where it shouldn't have been and I created life and I'm responsible for that life. So I had to make a choice to get myself together so I could be a father and a leader and all of those things to a child who didn't ask to come into this world, but he was brought into this world. And so
Yeah.
he deserved a father who was loving and present and sober.
Yeah.
And now I fell off. I did. And I wound up with 2 more. And I was on my 3rd DUI. I should have been in prison. Okay. Before I finally just stopped and put it down. But so yeah, it's just addiction. And it was that choice that I can't do this because every time you think you can and you think you just have 1 or 2, you are shown that you can't just make the choice to call the cab or stay at your friends. You have to you always feel like you have to get in your car and go home.
Yeah.
But luckily, by the grace of God, I never got in an accident and I never killed myself or anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang. What makes you feel most proud to be contributing to America economy or your local community through the work you do?
That right there.
That
And the
is
other
right
one
there.
who's not here.
Yep. Hey, future of America. Nice to see you.
To say that I am a father of, let's be honest, not all kids are cute. A beautiful baby boy. Who is also very smart. Because, yeah, he's not even 2 yet.
He's not even 2?
If you guys heard him in the background, he knows lots of words.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And he's
So,
walking.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he runs and jumps. The kid practices parkour board riding.
Oh my gosh. And then look at how his fingers, he's moving each finger really well.
Yes,
Zaylin.
our development is off the charts with this one.
Is
But
Zayden
yes,
or Zaylin?
Zaylin.
Zaylin.
Can you wave? Can you say hi? Can you do anything? You're just going to be shy?
Can I get
Be
a
shy?
smile? Cheese.
Can you say cheese?
The neck. Looks like he's got a good tasty neck. There it is. He's totally holding out. He's holding out on purpose. My daughter, she gives me that look. Knock it off. Stop.
But honestly, out of all the things I've accomplished in my life or thought I could ever probably accomplish, I definitely wasn't prepared for fatherhood. And being a father and knowing that I have the ability and the chance and an opportunity to turn not just 1, but now 2 boys into men and faithful followers of the Lord and good people, and know that I am doing that, and I've been told that I'm a good father that's my one goal. And I've told my kid, I may be a lot of things, but there is one thing I will never be, and that's a bad father.
Yeah.
My only goal in life is to be a good father, to make sure that you are successful in life. And until then, I'm gonna continue.
Yeah.
And I've promised him, I said, I'm not gonna fail. Okay. My goal is to make sure that you are successful and able to tackle the world. And
No, you can count on me. You can count on me. Well, Zaylin, it was a pleasure.
Can you say bye-bye? Bye-bye. There you go. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We'll do another one again soon, brother.
I hope so. You have a great night and a Mother's Day tomorrow.
Yes. Stay blessed.
Stay blessed.
Say bye, Dada. Bye, Dada. Say lunch will be ready. Lunch will be ready.
Nailed it.